Hey everybody, welcome to the Fantasy Players Club. I'm your host, Levi the Heartbreak Kid Valentine, at Levi_Valentine on Twitter. Joining me are my co-hosts, Brent Hut Hikes. Follow him at Brent Hikes, Heikes on Twitter, and Trevin the Baby Maker Cremosta. Tweets are still
Not my
too hot
name.
for your eyes. Yes, it is. Brent, welcome back. How was your time in France? The Tour de France, you made your big appearance.
It's good to be back. I had to hide out for a few weeks. Now Twitter and all those pictures are kind of cooled down, and I feel like I can finally get back out in public again. And people might have forgot what happened. That stinking bicyclist got in my way. I was right in getting in front of that camera there. I saw that camera, but it was just a big old disaster afterwards. So I am glad to be back though.
Well, we appreciate you putting it all on the line for the show. It sounds like it was kind of like Grand Theft Auto, where you had 5 stars and you had to hide out for a while, but now you're back.
Yes, I did have to hide out for a while, and but like I said, it's all good now. They're not looking for me anymore, so we're all good.
Trevin really spotted you there. Picked you out right away.
Yeah.
Oh, he had that sign. That's what he was there for.
Brent, did you have a good time on vacation?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, went to like 4 national parks, national forest in like 11 days. Not enough time to see everything, but it was pretty cool. And I left wanting to go see more. So maybe sometime next summer I might go back. It was a lot of fun.
Which national parks do you go through, Brent?
Grand Teton National Forest is just south of Yellowstone, and we went to Yellowstone. And then we went up to Glacier National Park, and then we went to the Black Hills, Badlands area. So nice. It was a lot of fun.
What was the highlight of the trip?
Glacier National Park up in Montana. That was pretty cool. We took a tour on a red bus, and we took a road that's called To the Sun Road, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just the scenery, wildlife. It was pretty amazing.
Sounds awesome. It's a beautiful part of the country.
It is.
Well, while you were gone, Brent, the Scott Fish Bowl kicked off, and the Scott Fish Bowl Podathon segment we ended up sponsoring we sponsored 2 segments, I guess. One was the Shane Battier appearance, Trevin's favorite college player of all time, Sugar Shane.
No, not college. I liked him at the Heat.
Big Duke fan, Trevin is.
No.
And we also sponsored the Campus Canton segment overnight. So 2 things that align pretty well with our podcast, with Trevin being such a big Duke fan. Before that first segment, though, they had our ad read, and I'm going to play that quick for you guys in case anybody missed it. There's a few things I want to discuss in here.
Fantasy football is supposed to be fun. And in the Players Club, it is. Join Brent Hut Hikes, Trevin the Baby Maker Cremosta, and Levi the Heartbreak Kid Valentine for entertaining banter, bets, and other shenanigans, along with insights to help you win big in Dynasty, Devy, Redraft, and DFS. Find the Fantasy Players Club on all major podcast platforms, and join the club on Twitter at Fantasy Players C. Remember, nothing is more fun than winning, and the Players Fantasy Club will help you win.
So, Brent, first of all, you have to change your name. Like, take a page out of Joe Theismann's book and change the pronunciation of your name to Hikes, because that just flows so much better with the Hut.
I'm so used to it. Hikes. I don't expect anybody to get my name right. If someone actually does, I'm pretty shocked. So, I have thought about that.
And I think that was the first time I've heard somebody pronounce my last name correctly on their first go around. So,
yeah, he did well. He also got Fantasy Players Club right 1 out of 3 times, which is very on brand for us. I think Players Fantasy Club at the end there was, maybe we should change the name to that. But Sal was doing his best. That's 24 hours live. I can't imagine going through that. So.
Mm-hmm.
We did 3 or 4 hours live for the draft and about killed me. So 24 hours would be a lot.
I was running out of gas by the end of that. I can't imagine doing 24. So that was a lot of fun. Hopefully everybody tuned in. If not, there are replays available on YouTube where I pulled that ad from. So thank you to them for putting that on, and we're happy that we got to sponsor it, especially Mr. Hikes.
Yes.
All right, fellas, it is 9 weeks from tomorrow. The NFL kicks off with the Cowboys at the Buccaneers on Thursday night of that opening week. So with that, there are 8 divisions in the NFL. So Brent, we're getting started on some division previews. Should we hop into the main event?
Yeah.
All right. So for tonight's main event, we're going to preview the AFC East. So we've got the Bills, Dolphins, Patriots, and Jets. We each, since it worked so well last year, we're each going to stick with what worked, and we're going to pick out a dynasty buy, a dynasty sell, a dynasty stash, a redraft sleeper, and a redraft fade. So let's kick it off with a dynasty buy. Trevin, why don't you start us off here?
All right, I'm going to start pretty hot. I'm not super confident in this one, just leading off, but I think you can get him pretty cheap, and if things go right, he can be your lead guy. So my pick is Zach Moss of the Bills. I think there's one thing that really helped him is the Bills didn't go out and get somebody. They didn't draft anybody like a lot of people thought they might. So it all comes down to he's got that battle with Singletary. If he can take over the lead role, then you can have yourself a top-end running back for really cheap. For example, on the Dynasty Calculator, trade calculator, it's saying an early third round should be about equal to getting him. So I think I would take that if I had the option and ride Zach Moss. And it's the goal line stuff that really is scary with Josh Allen as mostly their goal line back. Hopefully they try to save him a little bit more, and Zach Moss takes that lead back and can get you some of those touchdowns.
I like your pick. I thought about Zach Moss too, and he was one of my favorite running backs as coming in as a rookie last year. Obviously last year didn't pan out with Zach Moss and Devin Singletary. I thought they both had pretty good years, obviously. But I think Zach Moss is the guy to own in this backfield. I do think Devin Singletary will still get some catches. He might have more catches than Zach Moss, but Zach Moss should get more touches down near the goal line. But like you said, Josh Allen will also have some too, taking it away. So I expect a pretty good year out of Zach Moss, and where he's getting drafted, I think it's a pretty good pick there.
Yeah, hopefully he can take a little bit of that receiving work away from Devin Singletary this year. Zach Moss was actually a pretty good receiver in college. He had 28 catches his final year on 29 targets and 29 catches his sophomore year. So he's shown that he can do it. Last year he didn't have a ton, only 14 catches. But I think that that's an opportunity where he could improve a little bit his value and maybe stay on the field for all 3 downs potentially, which I think opens up the door to what you mentioned, Trevin, as far as being able to potentially get some of that red zone work. He was actually number 24 among running backs in red zone touches last year with 30. He just only was able to convert that into 5 touchdowns because on the goal line, it was Josh Allen getting a lot of those touches. So that could change a little bit this year. We'll see. That could potentially be part of Josh Allen's regression from a fantasy perspective and work in Zach Moss's favor if he is able to take over this backfield and be the primary back.
Yeah.
And at
Not bad, huh, guys?
At cost, like you mentioned, Trevin, it's a pretty cheap one. So
now if he was your second running back, I'd feel a little worried, but having him as your third running back, it's pretty good deal.
Yeah, if this offense is anywhere close to last year, I think you want players out of it. Obviously, Diggs is the primary one, but I think that there's room there for running back to carve out a role too.
And you would think they'd want to run the ball a little bit more than they did last year. So, I expect him to get a lot of touches. He's got to stay healthy. He's had some injury problems last year and even in college too. So you can't look away from that. But if he stays healthy and in that offense, he can have a pretty good fantasy year.
All right, Brent, who you got as your dynasty buy?
I have Nelson Aguilar, wide receiver for the New England Patriots. His ADP right now is 61st wide receiver, which in my opinion is a steal if you can get him even a little bit earlier than that. He just signed a 2-year deal for $26 million. He had 48 catches for 896 yards and 8 touchdowns last year with Derek Carr. What is it, David or Derek? I get them mixed
Derek.
up. Derek. Okay. Derek Carr as his quarterback. He also had a couple 60 plus catch seasons at Philadelphia in his first couple years at Philly. Yes, drops were an issue in his whole career, but drops have also been issues for guys like Deontay Johnson, DK Metcalf, CeeDee Lamb, and Tyreek Hill. So, those guys are pretty good receivers, and we don't really bug those guys about it too much. The Patriots are looking for their number one guy, and they're paying him to be their number one guy. So the only competition at wide receiver at New England is Jacoby Myers. And don't get me wrong, I do like Jacoby Myers, and I expect him to have a decent year too, but I think Nelson Aguilar might have a better year. And I do feel like Mac Jones will be their starter pretty early, and he'll take advantage of Aguilar's ability to get open, especially on the deep balls. And there's a good chance I think he can get that next contract after this 2-year contract, and he'll be 30 years old, yes, but if he does good this year and next year, I definitely see him getting another contract, maybe staying at New England, and maybe he'll be Mac Jones' top wide receiver for plenty of years to come. So, like I said, 61st wide receiver. He's getting drafted around Emmanuel Sanders, Sterling Shepard, Christian Kirk, Jamison Crowder, Gabriel Davis, Mecole Hardman, Ellen Lazard, Russell Gage, Jalen Reagor, and AJ Green. I like him better than all of those guys by far. So I feel Nelson Aguilar is someone that you want to buy right now.
I got to be honest, Brent. I really don't like this pick.
Yeah, I also hate that one.
All right.
I'll go first, I guess. I don't hate him as a player. I just really don't like his situation he's being put in here. I think he showed last year with Carr that he can be the downfield threat. I should have had this up, but I think he was one of 6 players that had more than 4 catches over 40 yards, something like that. Anyway, he was a deep pass threat for the Raiders, and Derek Carr is putting him in the windows, but he is going to a team whose quarterback threw 8 touchdown passes last year and was just over 7 yards average depth of target. And I just don't think he's going to be getting those long balls with Newton as the starter. And then we've talked about it a little bit in the past of I don't really like any receivers that have a rookie quarterback. So those are his 2 options there. And I don't like either one of those quarterbacks helping out Aguilar, at least for the first year. And by the time if Mac Jones hits the ground running the second year, he is getting a little bit older. So I like the player, but I don't like the situation he's in here.
Good points.
Yeah. Trevin, you kind of alluded to it, but the Patriots were one of the run heaviest teams in the NFL last year, second percentage-wise behind only the Ravens. So there's just not a lot of volume to go around, especially if they try to run him back with Cam Newton for a significant portion of the year. And then even if Aguilar is the lead receiver here, I just don't know that it's going to be enough volume to really make a difference or be, something that really helps you out that much. And in Dynasty last year, he had that big year, like you mentioned. He finished as wide receiver 20, and I think that's about the ceiling. So a wide receiver 2 at best, and I think that's probably really optimistic for him to be able to come anywhere close to that again this year.
What do you guys have him at the ADP at?
I don't know, but it's not high, like you said. I mean, for your dynasty buy, you're kind of going to the bargain bin, both of you.
Well, I mean, that's who we're buying.
Now, I did plug in Nelson on the trade calculator just to give us a baseline. It says middle of the 3rd round for this year's draft, which I would still rather have that middle of 3rd round. I know you can't expect a lot from there, but I just don't like his current situation. He is already 28, so by the time Mac Jones maybe comes in, he's looking at being a 30-year-old. So,
yeah, wide receiver 72 on DLF to answer your question, Brent, kind of like you mentioned.
And he got wide receiver 20 last year.
Yeah, but he's also on the Patriots, and I don't know. Where do you think he finishes this year, Brett?
I think he can definitely be. He can definitely do what he did last year at wide receiver 20. I don't think he can get as many touchdowns. Because last year he had 8 touchdowns. I think he can get more. He can get.
Which Trevin just said that's how many Cam Newton threw for the entire year.
Yeah. And it's like I said before, Cam Newton will not be his quarterback for the majority of the time next year. So you don't have to worry about that one. It'll be a rookie quarterback. But I don't think he'll get 8 touchdowns. Might get like 4. But he had 48 catches last year. I think he can get up there in the 60s again.
And that's my problem with him, though, is that you seem to be underrating Carr's deep ball a little bit. He was really good with him last year. And Aguilar was just not a volume receiver like you think you're hoping he will be with the Patriots. He only had 48 catches for 900 yards. I think he led the league with 19 yards per reception last year for 8 touchdowns. And so you're just kind of hoping he's a completely different guy for the Patriots here.
He was number two in yards per reception, 18.7. So he's one of the most efficient receivers in the NFL last year.
And Mac Jones is a pretty good deep ball too. So I don't know who else is going to go deep for the Patriots. Maybe nobody. but if it is somebody, it'll be Aguilar.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. It's not, you can get him for pretty cheap, so you're kind of betting on it's better than the super cheap price he's at. But I don't expect a lot from him this year.
Yeah. I'm kind of there with Trevin. Sorry, Brent.
That's all right.
Just
wait till I hear yours.
More Nelson shares from Brent.
Brent can try to tear mine apart next. My dynasty buy is Jalen Waddle. So first of all, I think he's going to be really good. He was matching Devontae Smith prior to his injury in 2021. He's dynamic in the return game, has a really special set of skills as a receiver. I think it's going to make him really productive early in his career. We've talked about a lot of this before when we went through all our rookies. But you add the Tua connection, and I think he starts off well this year, and I think he only gets better. And again, this is a dynasty buy, so it may sound a little weird, but I think this might be the cheapest you're going to get him anytime soon. After this season, Will Fuller is an unrestricted free agent. Devontae Parker's dead cap drops from $15.85 million to $5.4 million, so he's a potential cut candidate going into next season. The other wide receivers on this roster currently are Preston Williams, Lynn Bowden, Jakeem Grant, and Matt Collins. So Jalen Waddle, I think, is far more skilled than any of those by a pretty wide margin. He's currently going wide receiver 29 in startup drafts, just behind Cortland Sutton and Juju Smith-Schuster, and ahead of Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. In Dynasty, I'd take him over all 4 of those guys. A couple of deals I found recently on the DLF Trade Finder that I liked if I were going to try to acquire Waddle, other than if you didn't get him in your rookie draft, perhaps. Judy and a 2022 second for Waddle and a 2022 first. I would take the Waddle side on that deal. A 2022 first for Waddle straight up. I'd probably do that deal depending on when you expect that first to be. And then Myles Gaskin and Quintez Cephas for Antonio Gandy Golden and Jalen Waddle. So I like all those deals. I just think, like I said, I expect Waddle to be good this year. And with those departing receivers, I think there's going to be a huge opportunity in Miami next year. They probably will add somebody again next year through free agency or the draft. But if he shows well this year and has that huge opportunity next year, even if they add somebody, I just think he's going to be way more expensive to acquire then. So now is the time to go out and buy Jalen Waddle if you're a believer like I am.
Well, I know Trevin hates this one, so do you want to go first, Trevin? Get it out of your system.
We don't have to. We've gone through the rookies enough that I think most people have probably heard me talk about. We've gone back and forth on Waddle quite a few times. I don't hate the player. He never broke out in college. We've talked about it before. He's had injuries. You say his price now, if you're just looking at rookies, I would take some of those other rookie receivers or where he's going around. But that's only a couple picks drop from where you're saying you can get him. So it's not like I'm drafting him into the second or anything like that. But I'm also not a huge Tua guy. He hasn't looked comfortable. He hasn't been very productive. So I don't really love the situation he's going to. And maybe Tua flames out this year and Waddle doesn't have a good year. You might be able to get him cheaper next year before he has a better quarterback.
I don't know. I think I'm more on Levi's side here on this. I definitely thought about him as a buy. I think his ceiling is so high. He could be a stud in the NFL for years to come. But I am a little bit scared. Like Trevin said, he has Tua as his quarterback, and I don't know. He just scares me a little bit. I don't care that he didn't break out in college. I saw that he was good in college, great in college. So I've seen enough of him to think that he could be great in the NFL. So I don't know. He's an interesting player. I'm excited to see what he does this year. I think he could be very good, very, very good. So I like it, Levi.
All right, that's my pick, so you better like it. All right, Brent, do you want to go first with your sell?
Yeah, it kind of goes along with Jalen Waddle. I think my dynasty sell is Will Fuller for the Miami Dolphins. I think I probably had him as my dynasty sell last year when he was with the Texans, but he's just in a different division this time. So I'll still talk about Will Fuller. His ADP is around 40th overall, or not overall, 40th wide receiver. He just got a 1-year, $10 million contract. He did have a great year last year that was cut short with PED suspension, which will carry over into one game this year. So you already don't have him for one game. He doesn't have Deshaun Watson anymore. He has Tua, and we talked a little bit about Tua. He doesn't have DeAndre Hopkins on the other side taking double teams. So, there's more. Like the Houston Texans receivers last year were awful besides Will Fuller.
And Brandon Cooks. I guess. Yeah. But I think Will Fuller is better than Brandon Cooks overall. Yeah. And to your point, Fuller didn't have Nuke last year on the opposite side.
Yeah.
And he still had a really good year.
Yeah. He has a few more players to compete with targets with: Devontae Parker, Jalen Waddle, Preston Williams, who looked really good when he's healthy. Mike Gesicki too. So there's other people to compete with there. But I just can't erase the first 4 seasons out of my head. He was injured quite a bit. He never played a full season. He was always seems to be on the injury report. He only had 1 season when he has played more than 11 games, and that was out of 5 seasons. So he doesn't play. He never seems to play full seasons, and it's just that injury bug still scares me. Last year, who knows? Maybe last year he took some PEDs and maybe help with his injury problems, and maybe that's why he stayed healthy the whole time. But he got caught in the end, and he still missed time. So. Will Fuller, if he's healthy, plays the full year, I think he could be a pretty good receiver this year. And hopefully he does prove me wrong, but I just don't see it with Will Fuller.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Brent, he was one of the best receivers in fantasy last year when he was on the field. He was number 7 among receivers in fantasy points per game, over 17 a game in PPR scoring. Number 1 in yards per target, so incredibly efficient. A lot of that was due to his average target depth, which was number 25 among receivers, over 13 yards each. So he ran 100% of the routes when he was on the field, 91% snap share. So he's going to be on the field, and he's going to be getting probably quite a bit of work in Miami this year. I think the risk that you run by selling him is, if you're a contender, he's probably one of those players you want to hold on to because if he performs like he did last year, his value is going to go up, and he's going to be a really useful piece to have on your team this year. But like you said, Brent, the risk really with him is how many games is he going to be able to complete? He's never gotten over 1,000 yards. He was well on his way last year, 880 in 11 games before getting that suspension. But on a per game basis, it's great. But just to me, the risk is just the injury and suspension related, and the PED thing. It's just a big question mark. And then the other question mark in Dynasty with him is, like I mentioned, he's going to be a free agent after the season. So where does he end up? Does he end up in a good situation, or does he go somewhere that's that's a little more questionable. So he was fortunate to get out of Houston at the right time, but who knows what the future looks like for him after the season.
And I think his ceiling's a little bit lower too at Miami. So yes, he looked great last year, and he was wide receiver 7 overall at Houston with Deshaun Watson at quarterback. But the factor of having Tua as his quarterback now and having all those other options at Miami, I think that lowers his ceiling. Trevin, what's your thoughts?
I want to argue with you, Brent, but I really can't because we just talked about a Dolphins receiver, and I said I didn't like the situation, so I got to kind of stay with that, I think, especially on the 1-year deal. If I'm saying I don't really love Tua this year, who knows where he's going to be next year. So I'd agree with you. If you can get a good somebody who wants Fuller, who's excited about him going to the Dolphins, I would trade him too. I think that's a good pick.
We do know he's missing at least the first game of 2021, finishing up that suspension like you mentioned, Brent. So we'll see, I guess, how many he misses beyond that, but at least one this year.
Yeah.
All right. I can go next with my dynasty sell. So mine is Corey Davis. Corey Davis is 26, turned 27 during the season, and last year was his big breakout, finally, that we've all been waiting for. He finished with the most yards of his career, 984 yards, 5 touchdowns, and that was good for a wide receiver 32 finish in PPR scoring.
Let me just jump in quickly by say it's my guy too. So go on. That way we're not waiting to hear what I say.
All right. So you feel free to hop in and
yep.
Anytime along here, but his other finishes in PPR scoring were wide receiver 65. He actually had a wide receiver 26 finish in 2018 when he had 891 yards his sophomore season, but wide receiver 85 and 65 the other 2 seasons. So he's never been even a wide receiver 2 in fantasy on a seasonal basis, let alone a wide receiver 1. And he's going from being a number 2 receiver opposite A.J. Brown with Ryan Tannehill throwing him the ball to being the number 1 for a Jets team with a new coaching staff and a highly questionable rookie, as I've expressed before on this show, throwing him the ball. And again, there's just kind of an interesting wide receiver core. They have Corey Davis, Mims, Crowder, Elijah Moore, and Keelan Cole. So I think Corey Davis is arguably probably the number 1 in that offense. But I mean, there's nobody really there that stands out like he had with A.J. Brown on the other side to scare defenses in Tennessee and maybe get him the number 2 corner instead of the number 1 corner. But my biggest reason for selling him, and Trevin, maybe you agree with this, is I just think it's highly improbable that his value is higher a year from now than it is today, because I don't think he's going to have a big year in this offense with that new coaching staff, with this rookie quarterback, who I have a lot of questions about, and I just don't think this team is going to be very good or putting up a ton of points. So I think that he's probably not going to have a big fantasy year. I'd be surprised if he even matches what he did last year, which was a wide receiver 3 finish. And then you're looking at next year, he's another year older, stuck in New York for at least another year. So I'd be looking to get out for any reasonable deal I could make, most likely with him as part of a package to get a better wide receiver. I did look on the DLF Trade Finder, and there was one deal where he was moved for Gallup straight up. In that deal, I'd pretty easily take Michael Gallup over Corey Davis.
No, I agree with everything you said. He was at the Titans for quite a while. They were hoping that he would be the alpha receiver, and he never could really be that. I think he played number 2 really well with A.J. Brown. The Jets don't have that alpha receiver he can play off of, but they did pay him like they think he can be again. And we've have quite a bit of history that he's not that guy. And now he's going into a new coach, new quarterback, and 2 really young receivers with Mims and Moore, and also Crowder is going to be in his way too of being a big volume guy, I think. So if you've got somebody that's hot on Corey Davis, I would see what you can get for him.
You guys are doing good today. Good call. Good call, both of you too. So, yeah, I agree with you. The only thing that held me back from picking Corey Davis in this position was, what if Zach Wilson is good? Then Corey Davis could have a pretty good fantasy year. So that's the only thing that's holding me back. We just don't know much about Zach Wilson right now, and maybe he's a great quarterback, and if that's the case, Corey Davis could get like 10 touchdowns this year and 80 catches, and he could just wow us all. So that was the only thing holding me back.
The sun could also rise in the west tomorrow, Brent.
It could.
All right. Well, sounds like we're all kind of on the same page there. I'll go first with my dynasty stash then. I had Hunter Long as my dynasty stash. So Hunter Long, tight end for the Miami Dolphins, which of course I love. Mike Gesicki is an unrestricted free agent after this season, and the Dolphins have shown no intentions of re-signing him. Long is currently going 38th among rookies in Superflex, so an early fourth-round pick, potentially if you haven't had your rookie draft yet, is all he'll cost you. And if you get him outside your rookie draft, he's probably going to be pretty cheap to trade for, probably as part of a package deal as well. But even if you just do it straight up, he's a good athlete, showed the ability to be one of the primary targets while at Boston College. His numbers improved every year, culminating in a 69th percentile dominator rating, a sophomore breakout. The Dolphins invested meaningful draft capital in him, taking him in the middle of the third round. And I saved this one for last because I think, Brent, you might like this. His best comparable on Player Profiler is Jason Witten. So you got to like to see that. I think he's the perfect late-round flyer at tight end who has the perfect opportunity to step into a role in 2022 on a rising Dolphins offense with Mike Gesicki out of the way. We talked about those receivers who are most likely moving on after this season. You've got him and Jalen Waddle there potentially as two of the top targets to soak up a lot of that volume left by those receivers. And then if they add somebody in free agency as well, you got three pretty solid weapons there for Tua. So Hunter Long, I think, stash him on the end of your bench this year, 2022. He's going to be primed to have a role in that Miami offense.
Not bad, Levi. Not bad. I think there's a few other rookie tight ends that I would go after besides Long, but
well, Kyle Pitts, Brent.
Besides Pitts.
Oh, Pat Freiermuth, Brent. You going after him too?
Well, yeah, I like him better than Long, but yeah, I mean it's
Hunter Long is going as tight end 3 among rookies. Just FYI,
it's like I said, it's not a bad pick. I just feel like I don't know. I mean, you could be right. I don't know. It's just. We expected big things, and I remember you expected big things from Mike Gesicki too. And if we can't see it from him, I don't know if we can see it from Hunter Long. So I don't know.
So your argument is that because Gesicki wasn't what we thought he might be, that Hunter Long can't be good?
Well, I mean, that's just not my main argument. It just. We will see with him. We'll see.
Okay, we'll see. It's just a stash, Brent.
I know. That's what I said last year with Taysom Hill too.
How quickly you forgot me, Brent? In your own words.
I don't. There's not a whole lot to say with stashes to disagree with you. I'm not a huge Hunter Long fan, and not a huge Dolphins in general fan. You seem to be buying up all the Dolphin shares you can get. So.
To the moon, baby.
Yeah.
All right. Trevin, you want to go next?
Yeah, so you can go ahead and keep all your Dolphins. With my dynasty stash, I am going to stash Lynn Bowden. I think he gives you they used a little bit of capital to get him. We've talked about all the receivers that might not be there next year for the Dolphins. And also the running backs might not have a lot ahead of them anymore either. They got Gaskins, Ahmad, and Malcolm Brown, but I think next year the only one that's left is Gaskins, and he didn't shine out too much last year. So I like that Bowden. You can use him as a wide receiver and a running back on. Whoa, what's up?
Only the idiot Raiders think he's a running back.
No, he can. You can play him at both positions though. On your that was one of my pitches for him. On what's that new site we just did?
On Sleeper.
On Sleeper, yeah, you can play at both positions right now, so it does add a little bit of more of a ways to put him in your lineup if you need him.
I wonder if that'll stay the same for the season. I haven't read about or heard anything either way, I guess.
It is as of now, and I don't know. They haven't said anything about changing it when I looked it up here.
Yeah.
Last year he didn't do a whole lot. He started 4 games, played in 10 games, had 28 catches and 9 rushes. But if the Dolphins do better like Levi thinks they're going to do, and all the people are gone, that looks like they might be gone, it might open up opportunities for him.
You're really trying to thread the needle here by hating on my Jalen Waddle pick.
I know. I was going to say I think Waddle will play a similar position as I think it's actually pronounced Lynn Bowden. Am I right?
I've heard it both
Probably.
ways. You're probably right.
Okay. But I don't know. It just I'm not a fan of the pick, Trevin. I don't think he's gonna have much of a role on the offense this year. Maybe he can find a returning specialist role or something, but I don't think he'll have much of a role especially with Preston Williams healthy, Devontae Parker healthy. Now they have Will Fuller, and we have that guy named Jalen Waddle. So they have a lot of, and they have Hunter Long now, I guess, too. So
that's right.
They have. I don't know. It's
well, I don't
forgot
think
your favorite
Waddle
player.
and Bowden are going to be playing the same position. I think
What's
they're
that?
pretty different guys. Bowden and Waddle aren't going to be playing the same position.
I mean, Bowden might play a little bit more in the running back position like he did last year, but I don't know. It's just there's too many wide receivers for him to see the field that are better than him.
Brent, you forgot to mention your favorite player, Swiss Army knife here as well, is still on the Miami roster.
Malcolm Perry.
Yeah.
Yeah, he plays a similar role to Malcolm Perry too. So I will say those two will fight for that final wide receiver spot. We'll see them duke it out and see who wins that final receiver spot.
Yeah. I mean, it's a stash, so who knows? It's just a flyer, but I'm not a huge. I liked Bowden a lot coming out. I like the parallels he had to Julian Edelman. And I think he still could pan out, but he's just had such a weird career path already that I think he may need a little more stability. And maybe for some of those receivers, like you mentioned, to clear out Trevin. So maybe next year will be his time to step forward. It'll be interesting to watch.
That's what a stash is for, right?
Yeah.
What about his Dolphins tattoo he gave himself? What do you think about that?
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, he tattooed his own leg, a Dolphins tattoo.
That'll be Levi's next tattoo.
Yeah.
Me and Flipper.
If Bowden
how's it look? How does his look?
Better than I would do on my own leg, but not good. I did just put it in the chat if you wanted to click on it.
So I should not go to Bowden and get my tattoo from him if I get one.
Maybe he's better when it's not his own body.
Oh, he actually did it himself?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I just put the link in the chat.
That's a terrible tattoo. It looks like I won't say what it looks like.
A dolphin.
Yeah, a dolphin. A deformed dolphin is what it looks like. All right, that's all.
He must not even like done a tracing first or anything. You could at least have somebody put it on your leg first, I think, and then just follow along the lines and do better than that.
Do you think he was sober when he did this?
I think so. His lines are pretty straight. What would you tattoo on your own body?
Nothing. I wouldn't even let a professional.
No, if you had to.
Something.
A
If
dot.
you had to.
A dot.
No,
That's
come
easy.
on. If you had to put something, where would you put it, and what would it be of?
I don't know. Maybe we can talk about this in the outtakes. How about that?
No, this is too important for that. Go ahead. What do we got next?
All right, Brent.
My stash is Jacob Hollister, tight end for the Buffalo Bills. He has 66 catches, 558 yards, and 6 touchdowns in the last 2 years at Seattle. And he's not really getting drafted in any fantasy drafts, but if your dynasty league is big enough, he's definitely worth a stash on your team. If it's redraft or if your dynasty rosters are a little bit smaller, definitely someone to keep an eye on after week 1 or 2 to see if you can pick him up on waivers. Dawson Knox is capable of being a pretty good tight end, but he hasn't put it all together these first couple of years in the NFL. Now they have Hollister pushing him, and he's the expected number 2 guy right now. Hollister's played in Super Bowls at New England. Won a Super Bowl with New England. I know his stats haven't been great overall, but he backed up Rob Gronkowski and Greg Olsen in his first 3 or 4 years in the NFL, so he's played behind some greats there and learned behind some greats. He was Josh Allen's tight end at Wyoming and one of his favorite targets at Wyoming in college. And I just feel like he has a chance to be a piece of one of the best offenses in the NFL, maybe be a starting tight end of this offense by the end of the year. I feel like, it'd be beneficial just to take a chance on him late in your drafts. What are you guys' thoughts?
I don't hate it, but it is worth noting that Dawson Knox had more receiving yards in his rookie season than Jacob Hollister's had in any of his 4 seasons.
Yeah.
I really hate it. Do you want to know why?
Let's hear it.
The Bills are signing Zach Ertz.
Yeah, if they sign Zach Ertz, I want to add that in there. If they sign Zach Ertz, we'll cut this part out.
Get this part out. It sounds like it's basically done, which makes me not.
They've been saying that. They've been saying that for a month now, though. So we will see about that.
All right. Yeah, not a bad pick, Brent. We'll see if that pans out or not. You may want to change that one up at the end of the season if it doesn't. So
okay.
Redraft sleeper. Trevin, you want to go first on this one?
Yeah. Let me remember who So I am also sticking with the Bills, and I'm going with Gabriel Davis, the second-year receiver there for the Bills. They did just bring in Jesus, I'm having a brain fart.
Emmanuel Sanders.
Emmanuel Sanders, your favorite guy. I'm not a huge fan of Emmanuel Sanders, so I think Davis will slide it right in pretty quickly to that number 2 role. And if this team stays as pass happy as they were last year, I would be happy having their number 2 receiver.
It's a good pick. It's a great offense. I don't know about Stephon Diggs, he'll have another good year. I don't know about Cole Beasley if he'll have as good as a year as last year. And we talked a little bit about tight end at Buffalo. Dawson Knox is struggling. But Davis, he's had some good games this past year. And the only thing that is stopping me from really liking it would be Emmanuel Sanders. And I don't know how you can not like Emmanuel Sanders. He's done nothing but great things at everywhere he goes. So I don't know.
So that no team has ever wanted to keep him.
I don't know about that. He's made a lot of money at wide receiver. So I don't know. It's a good pick, I'd say. He's a good receiver. Just Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders now. So,
and he was actually second among wide receivers last year for a snap share, just behind Diggs. So ahead of Cole Beasley and John Brown, who was there last year.
Yeah. I want to say, go ahead.
I was just going to ask Levi what he thought about it.
I like Gabriel Davis. I just, like Brent said, they brought in. I do think Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley are going to be ahead of him on the depth chart this year. And then, of course, Stephon Diggs is still there dominating that receiving opportunity share. So
even though he was ahead of Beasley last year?
Was he ahead of Beasley last year?
He was second in snap share behind only Diggs for wide receivers.
What about production?
Well, hang on then a second.
Yeah, I think Cole Beasley is going to be more productive than him this year, honestly. They play obviously very different roles. Cole Beasley is primarily in the slot. Gabriel Davis was probably working mostly outside, if memory serves. So I like Gabriel Davis longer term a lot. I just, for redraft, I just don't know if he's going to have a huge opportunity this year to be relevant, I guess, for most teams, unless it's a deeper league.
So he had 17 yards per reception and 7 touchdowns last year.
Yeah. So Beasley had 82 catches for 967 yards on 107 targets, compared to Davis had 62 targets, 35 catches, 599 yards. So, yeah, Gabriel Davis was on the field a little more, but it was close. And then, obviously, with the actual targets and production, both opportunity and production, Beasley outpaced him pretty easily. So, I guess, yeah, I think Beasley has a slot role locked down, and then you have Sanders and Diggs probably on the outside there, and that leaves Gabriel Davis kind of in that 4 slot. So again, for Dynasty, I like Gabriel Davis a lot. I just, for redraft, it's unless there's an injury or something like that, I just have a hard time seeing him being starter worthy on a week-to-week basis.
And another thing I like to look at, if you look at their playoff games from last year, Cole Beasley, he played pretty good. I know, let's see, he had 14 catches, and didn't he play with a broken leg? Wasn't it? Last year during the playoffs? And
something like that.
And Gabriel Davis had 2 goose eggs for the last 2 games in the playoffs. You feel like those playoff games are obviously very important, and you want to get those. You want your best players getting the touches, and with Cole Beasley being one of the top targets for Josh Allen and Gabriel Davis getting 0 catches in the last 2 games in the playoffs, I think that says something pretty big right there. But for Dynasty, I do kind of like Gabriel Davis.
Yeah, he had a knee sprain in Week 16, Brent. That may be what you're thinking of.
Okay.
So, I like the player driven.
Hey, thanks. You guys are wrong, but that's okay. I'll take old Gabriel Davis.
All right, you can have him this year. Brent, who's your redraft bot or redraft? What are we calling this? Redraft sleeper.
I have a feeling you guys won't like this one.
Match right along with your other ones.
Keelan Cole, wide receiver for the New York Jets. His ADP is 90th at receiver. Just signed a 1-year deal for $5.5 million with $3 million signing bonus. He's had a pretty good couple of years. Kind of surprised a lot of people at Jacksonville. He kind of came out of nowhere his rookie year as an undrafted free agent from Kentucky Wesleyan. It's been known that the New York Jets front office has watched Keelan Cole for a couple of years, and they've been trying to get him, trying to trade for him. He definitely fits better in this offense than he did at the Jacksonville offenses that he's played with. He had 55 catches last year, 642 yards, and 5 touchdowns, which is very similar to DJ Chark's stats last year. He might be good enough to lead the wide receivers at the New York Jets in fantasy production this year. He's already playing with the starters. And if Zach Wilson, like I said before, if he's actually good at quarterback, he could become very good at fantasy. So he's definitely a guy to keep an eye on. He's getting drafted late. A lot of my best balls I've been getting him. So he could be a huge sleeper for this year. So look out for Keelan Cole.
Brent, you might be right. I'm not a huge fan on this one. Trevin, how do you think?
I don't know. You're going for the 5th receiver on a rookie quarterback for a team that had.
Like I said, he's probably going to be first receiver for that rookie quarterback.
I think that's optimistic.
You can say it all you want, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. I see him as the 5th receiver here on a rookie quarterback for a team that won, 4 games last year? So I don't know. Yeah. You can keep Keelan Cole.
All right.
I think even if he's 3rd, Brent, I just, like I mentioned kind of on Corey Davis, I just don't know if this offense is going to be good enough, especially with that rookie quarterback and a coaching staff that probably wants to run the ball, to have 3 fantasy viable wide receivers. That's probably my biggest concern with Keelan Cole.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, you guys, again, are going down to the dollar bin for your redraft sleepers. So
They're sleepers. You can't pick a name.
I know you can't
name
pick
brand
somebody
player.
too high.
well,
Yeah,
you got to
who
pick.
Russell
you gotta
Wilson. What are you gonna say?
I mean, you can't
Yep.
be bored.
Pick somebody you might actually start. That might be a good place to maybe
All
start.
right,
You
let's
need
see.
to find
here.
sleepers differently.
My sleeper is Myles Gaskin. So somehow, some way, Myles Gaskin made it through the offseason without the Dolphins adding significant competition in this backfield. It's him, Malcolm Brown, and Brent's favorite Malcolm Perry, as we mentioned, Savon Ahmed, and Jared Dokes, who they took out of Cincinnati in the 7th round. Gaskin was incredibly productive last season on the 10 games he was able to play. 584 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, but he really excelled in the passing game. He had 41 catches, 388 yards, 2 touchdowns. All told, he averaged over 16 PPR points per game, which ranked 10th among running backs. When he went down with an MCL sprain during Week 8 against the Rams, it looked like he might have lost his job. But after he missed the next 4 games recovering from that, he came back and reclaimed the lead back role, averaged 14 carries a game over the final 3 games of the year. So he was able to come back without and just go right back to that same volume he had before. He's currently going 51st overall on ESPN, so 5th round as running back 22. He's someone you can get at running back 2 or running back 3 potentially cost, depending on your draft, who, like I mentioned, has the potential to give you running back 1 type numbers if he's able to excel like he was last year. Again, Trevin, as I mentioned, and I know you agree, I expect this Dolphins team to continue their ascent this year. I think that bodes well for Myles Gaskin, and I think he can duplicate his performance and hopefully stay healthy this year and potentially get you those running back 1 numbers at 2 or 3 cost.
Go ahead, Trevin.
I don't hate it. He is getting drafted pretty low, and for just a redraft, you're only expecting some value for him this just coming year. He's still going to be the Dolphins this coming year. Looks to be the lead 3-down back, which is a good price for anybody if you can get that kind of volume at 22. I look at the guys ahead of him. I'm not sure how many guys I would actually not take ahead of him. So he seems to be priced pretty closely to where I would take him anyway, but I don't hate it.
So, Levi, were you the last person to do the sleeper?
Yeah, I think so.
So I'm just going to jump right into my fade right now, and that is Myles Gaskin.
Let's
Nice.
dance, Brent. Let's dance.
Let's dance. I think he's getting drafted way too early. Just by the way, like on Twitter, I mean, every 10 minutes someone tweets about Myles Gaskin all the time. It's gone way overboard with Myles Gaskin. I see on some Scott Fishbowl drafts he's getting drafted in the 4th round and in the 5th round, which is crazy in my eyes. He only lasted 10 games last year in his 2nd year in the NFL. And I want to add that Salvin Ahmed was also pretty impressive last year. When Gaskin went down, Ahmed actually, might have even played better than Gaskin. And then Ahmed got hurt, and then Gaskin came back and reclaimed his job. I will agree Gaskin is a pretty good receiving back. He's good at pass blocking. He's definitely got that role locked up at Miami. I think he's definitely got that role. I just don't think he could be a complete back at Miami. Ahmed might have a role. Malcolm Brown, which in my opinion, and I'm sure a lot of other opinions, he's shown more in the NFL, and he's actually a better complete back than those other 2 guys we're talking about. So it's going to be tough for Gaskin to live up to the 20th running back where he's getting drafted. So I'm definitely staying away from a running back like that. And you would think that I like running backs like that because, with like in a timeshare like that, but he's getting drafted. He's getting drafted way too early for me. So I'm looking for other running backs a little bit later than Gaskin.
I would pretty strongly disagree with you that Malcolm Brown has proven he's a more complete back than
Yeah.
either of these
I was
two.
kind of with you until then, but Malcolm Brown was pretty wild.
Gaskins had maybe a couple good games last year, right?
10 really good games. But
10 really
yes,
good
continue.
games? Are you serious? He had 10 really good games last year? He played 10 games. He did not have 10 really good games.
He
You
had
know how old Malcolm Brown is?
Brent. He had double-digit fantasy points in every game except for one where he had 9.
It helps. That helps when you're a receiving back.
Yeah, and I think he could be Austin Eckler light here. I mean, 41
Ooh.
catches in 10 games, and then you add on his rushing production as well. Like, Austin Eckler isn't getting a ton of rushing production.
Malcolm Brown has had 43 career catches.
And Gaskin had 41 in 10 games.
Yeah.
Gaskin had 584 rushing yards in 10 games, so if he were able to continue that, you're looking at 750, 800 yards, which I hate extrapolating. But then you look at like evaded tackles. He was number 16 in juke rate, which is evaded tackles per touch. He was number 13 among running backs. So it's not real fluky here, I don't think. And I think if you're playing in a PPR league, I think he's going to have a pretty high floor with upside that I don't think you're getting from a lot of the other running backs in this range. And that's why he's my sleeper.
I'm just looking at his first 8 games of the year. 9 carries for 26 yards, 7 carries for 36 yards, 22 carries for 29 yards, 10 carries for 22 yards, 16 carries for 34 yards, 18 carries for 35, 18 for 16, and then he had a few good games to close out the year.
Are we looking at two different things?
Possibly. Why? What do you?
I got New England week 1, he had 9 carries, 40 yards. Week 2, 7 carries, 46 yards. Week 3, 22 carries, 66 yards.
I better be looking at something else then.
I'm showing what Trevin shows. So
all right.
Overall in the year, Brent, I'm showing he averaged over 4 yards carry on 142 attempts.
Okay.
But
all right. I'm looking at a different website now. My bad. but I mean that doesn't take away anything I said. So, I don't know. It's just I feel like you guys can do better if you're going to pick a running back. He's getting picked out of running back 2, and maybe if you get him out of running back 3, it's okay. But running back
here,
2,
I'm going to split you guys, and I think he's properly priced. Brent, I'm going to read on the ADP who is after him. He's at 22 running back. Tell me if you take these guys that are after him.
Before you get to that, can I make a point here? This is a redraft sleeper. This is
Yeah.
someone you think who could exceed their cost. It's not saying that they should be going higher. It's saying that they have upside that if they hit, it's going to potentially help you win your league. That's how I interpreted a redraft sleeper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you're picking a guy that's value is lower than where you think they're going to end up.
Yes, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily that I'm saying he should be drafted higher.
Yeah, but you're picking him saying he's going to finish higher.
Yeah.
I'm saying that he has a ton of upside, but yes.
So
do
that
your
he's
exercise. I just wanted to clarify my approach here before you got into this.
I don't even know what you're saying. Can me and Brett get back to what we were doing?
Yep, go for it.
Okay. So Gaskins is 22. At 23 is Travis Etienne. Would you take Gaskins or Etienne, Brett?
Etienne.
24, Kareem Hunt.
Hunt.
25, Chase Edmonds.
Edmonds. It's close, though. It's starting to get close.
26, Mike Davis.
Davis.
27, James Robinson.
Yeah, I'd probably go with Gaskin there.
Yeah, so that matches with saying that he's a fade for you. He'd take him 5 or 6 spots below where he's getting taken at. So, Brent, how many games last year did Myles Gaskins go over 100 yards rushing?
Well, I have to find his stats because the stats that I was looking at
you can just guess.
Was crazy. Oh, it's a guess.
Yeah.
Over 100 yards rushing.
Yeah.
Maybe like 1, maybe 2.
Zippo.
Okay.
So that's where I was playing the Brent side a little bit there, but I do like the comparison with the Austin Eckler light. I think he's properly priced. I think you look at the guys. We just went down the guys below him. David Montgomery above him, Chris Carson, J.K. Dobbins, Josh Jacobs, Clyde, Miles Sanders, DeAndre Swift. So I think he's pretty properly priced. That's just my little spiel on him.
Okay. Let me know when you guys want to pick somebody that actually might get on the field for next week, maybe. So we can Hash those over. Trevin, who's your fade?
Have somebody else do it first this time.
Brent did his already. It was Myles Gaskin. I can go next. So mine is
you
Michael.
go next.
Mine's Michael Carter. Carter is currently going 38th among running backs, just behind Damian Harris and A.J. Dillon, and just ahead of Naheem Hines, Devin Singletary, fan favorite, and Trey Sermon. We've covered this extensively already tonight, but I expect this Jets offense to be pretty bad, and I'm not even really sure he's the lead back. They have Tevin Coleman there, who I'm not excited about, but I think could get some work, and then you also have Ty Johnson and LaMichael P. Ryan. We've seen Shanahan use a committee in San Francisco. I wouldn't be surprised at all if that's what we see from his former assistants here in New York. Carter's only 201 pounds, never carried the load in college, always factoring in as kind of a supplementary back with Javonte Carter. I think he'll have a role, but good luck figuring out which weeks he's going to be the Jets back to start. And on top of that, like I said, I don't think there'll be that many weeks when you want to start any of these Jets. So he's a pretty easy fade for me at his cost.
Yeah, you don't like the Jets, and you like the Dolphins. we get it. We get it.
Yeah, we get it.
That's not a bad pick. There's a lot of running backs there, and you don't know what weeks to start him, but he might be their only option. You might have to wait a few weeks to see if he is going to be the guy. But I agree. From the news from camp, it sounds like he's doing pretty good, and I think people might be overreacting a little bit about how good he is. So I don't know. It's not a horrible pick, Levi. But we can definitely see that you hate the Dolphins and really, really love your hate the Jets and really, really love your Dolphins.
As all smart people should.
Wow, you're fading the 38th ranked ADP running back. You're really stepping out on a limb there.
Tell me more about your 60th ranked running back that you're about to say, Trevin.
Nope. That's after my ride with Clyde last year, I'm never drafting a rookie running back again. So I'm with you. I'm on the same page.
Who's your fade?
So my fades are the New England Patriots tight ends. They are currently 14th and 17th tight end. I think a lot of people are going to be trying to pick one of them and hope it's that guy. I'm just not getting into that mess. I don't want any part of either one of them. So I'm fading them both. And we've talked about their quarterback situation too. So I don't like trying to pick which one's going to do better. I would just stay away from them.
Good call. I'm staying away from them both too. It's too tough especially if you think Aguilar is going to do good, get a lot of touches there. So, Levi, do you like any one of those guys?
Oh boy, Trevin fading the tight end 14 and the tight end 17. Way to really go out on a limb, Trevin.
I said it was because I think people are going to be picking one of them to put higher and saying this is going to be the guy. When I wouldn't be touching either one of them.
Really, really fading that backup tight end there, Trevin.
What do you think about him? What do you think about the Patriots tight ends?
Yeah, I don't think I think they're properly ranked to steal a page out of your book, Trevin.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
No, I like the talents on both of them. If I had to pick one, I think I'd lean towards Hunter Henry, but I wouldn't want either of them as a starter on a week-to-week basis as long as they're both healthy, unless it becomes clear that one's going to be that move tight end who is primarily working on the passing game. But we'll see. It's not like I'm definitely not taking either one of them as a starter in a redraft league this year. So I guess if you don't want to get bold at all, then that's a fine fade, Trevin.
If one of those guys tears the ACL in the preseason, then would you guys be all over the other guy?
I'm still not putting a lot of investment in this Patriots passing offense.
I'd probably take a flyer on one as
Cam likes his tight ends.
Yeah, if I didn't get one of the top tight ends and wait till the very end of my draft and took two, I would probably take a shot on that guy. But I think if that happens, there is a chance that they start going up in that 8 to 10 range where you probably won't be able to do that.
Yeah.
Cam might like his tight ends, but they need every one of his passing touchdowns last year to be in the top 5, top 6 tight end spot. You need to have a competing tight end.
It just doesn't take that much for a tight end to be really relevant in fantasy. It was like a back end starter. That's the only thing that I could maybe buy into a little easier than their receivers. But it was a fun week, guys. Things are getting heated already, so I'm looking forward to the next 7 of these. That Myles Gaskin one felt good. Got the blood flowing a little bit, Brent.
That was fun. I enjoyed it. It was fun.
I think these are the best thing we do because we all put in a lot of prep work to make these picks, and then if we are on the opposite sides on a guy like we were tonight, things get a little heated, and we both have some good, well-researched points to bring to the table to give the listeners something to think about. So I'm looking forward to the next 7. We'll get some guests in the mix too. That always makes things fun, kind of a wild card.
Yeah.
All right, Brent, did you have a chance to listen to last week's episode?
I did. All
right. So what did you think about our punishment idea that we came up with?
I like the other punishments better. You guys really want to squirt ketchup and mustard at my face? Like, really? You guys would rather do that?
I think Trevin summed it up well at the end when he said it's still Bills related. Bills Mafia related. It's a tailgating thing that they do. It's not something that's going to put your physical health at risk, and it's something that'll still be great content for both the show and for social media. So that seems like a win all around, Brent.
All right. I personally liked because I listened to it with my wife actually because we just got back from traveling in the park, and it was when I started messaging you guys during the end of your live show, and then afterwards we listened to the full thing, and we both kind of like the idea of me picking Devin Singletary in the first round of best balls because I told my wife, I remember this, I told her that I would still win those best balls picking Devin Singletary in the first round because I'm such a great drafter. So, but I like that one the best. But if you guys chose to squirt ketchup and mustard in my face, whatever, go ahead.
Well, there's no rule here, Brent, that says it has to be just one of these. You can do the best ball thing and get ketchup and mustard squirted all over you.
Yeah, if you like that one so much.
No, I'm good with just one of them.
All right, well, we will plan on that, and we will figure out a week to do that. It sounds like your wife and daughters would be fully on board with squirting Brent in the face with ketchup. So, and we gotta do the bowling ball shot too. So I don't know if either of you have a bowling ball, but we'll have to get that figured out.
Yeah, I'll have to find a bowling ball. I don't have a bowling ball here.
Oh man, something to look forward to in addition to the division previews coming up the rest of the summer. Oh man, that ties in well with our AFC East preview, Bills Mafia. So that's perfect, Brent.
It does.
Let's move to question of the week. So question of the week, Brent. We mentioned best ball. I guess if we include DFS in this too, maybe what's the most you've ever bet gambling? Maybe on a single week, on an NFL Sunday or March Madness or something, or even on a single bet. I'll let you go first.
Dang, I was thinking about this when I saw this on the show sheet. So I'm sure, I don't know exactly, but it was probably $100. I'm sure I bet $100 on like a Husker game or something.
That's your most on a single bet?
Yeah.
And you don't remember the game?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't even know for sure if it's, I don't know. But I know, knowing me, I would never go over $100. I just think that's my limit.
Did you win?
Probably not.
Have you ever had more than that going on a single day, like for NFL or DFS or for March Madness or anything like that?
I've been pretty close, like on DraftKings. I don't think I've ever been maybe $75 for a Sunday on DraftKings, but yeah, usually I'm on a losing end, so usually there's pools that I do that I guess I've done some Masters pools that are $100. and the payout for that is not all one. I mean, you just don't. It's just more like contest. It's not like you win or lose. I might have won a little bit of my 100 back, but like I said, 100 is probably my max. I don't think I should do any more. You guys probably different. You guys probably big money guys over there.
Yeah,
No.
Trevin, we all know how much of a cheapskate you are, so tell us about all your big bets you made.
I don't make many big bets. Most I've probably made on one sporting event is $20, and that's very rare. I'm not a big gambler. I mean, the most is definitely the dynasty or in fantasy leagues I'm in every year. I hate the losses hurt me way more than the gains on any sports bet I've ever done. So I'm not a big fan of gambling on it. I mean, I like to do it. I like doing some small bets once in a while, but it's never bigger than $20.
Yeah, 20 is probably the most I bet on a sports game or something like that. But on DFS last year, after I hit a couple of those and had a decent bankroll, I did have like probably 200 or 300 going some weeks on different DFS lineups and tournaments and stuff. So that's enough to get the blood pumping a little bit.
Yeah.
Cool.
All I do is think of whenever I have some money on the line, I just think about how long I had to just sit at a computer and do my job to pay for this stupid bet.
That's a good way to reduce your spending is look at every purchase, how many hours you had to work to afford that.
That's the way my brain's always worked. I guess is probably why I'm such a tight ass. I was really thinking when I was doing my wedding, when we were looking at wedding costs and stuff, like, oh, this will be $500. That'd just always be the first thing that went in my mind. How many goddamn Excel spreadsheets I had to work on to pay for this one $500 item for the wedding or whatever.
Yeah, that's a lot of spreadsheets when you're making minimum wage, isn't it?
Yeah. Be a shitload.
All right, should we do a beer check quick?
Yeah.
All right. Tonight I got a Brew Lab Cocoa Nillin, coconut IPA. I had this one at the brewery and got a growler to take home. So this is a little bit of that. It's good. I'll say 8.2.
I've never heard of a coconut beer before. Never had one.
Really? They're pretty good.
Huh.
I definitely recommend this one. It's a local Kansas City brewery, so
I've got one from Empyrean Brewing here in Lincoln called Supernova. It's a California Common is the kind of beer it is. I've never heard of that before, but it's got a cool label. It's a candy citrus, what they describe it as. So, but it's good. I will give it like an 8.9. I really like it.
Wow. And I feel like I might have done this beer already, but it's called Wicked Easy from Samuel Adams. You guys familiar with it? No?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Not bad. I will give it a 7.0.
you gotta stop describing things as not bad or like my last pick, like not a terrible pick.
Well, that's what I say when it's not good. You know that.
I do all too well.
I try to be nice.
All right, well, that's a fun week, fellas. Thanks for being part of the Fantasy Players Club, everybody. We'll have a new episode for you next week. We'll live stream on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Until then, on behalf of Brent Hut-Hut-Hikus and Trevin the Baby Maker Cremosta, this is Levi the Heartbreak Kid Valentine, wishing you a great week.
See ya.
See ya.
Yeah. All right, Brent, I think you put this on here for the after show. You want to go over my Scott Fishbowl picks?
Yeah. Did you make your 8th rounder yet?
Yeah, I did, and I took Galladay.
Okay.
So I'll go through it here quick. First round, I had the 5th pick, took Travis Kelce. Then I took Tom Brady in the 2nd round, Antonio Gibson in the 3rd, DeAndre Swift in the 4th, Baker Mayfield in the 5th, Amari Cooper in the 6th, T. Higgins in the 7th, and Galladay in the 8th.
All right. Well, I want to say I liked it early on. The middle I don't like, but your last two picks are very good.
When you say the middle, are there specific players you have in mind?
I'm kind of with Brent. Yeah, same.
DeAndre Swift and Baker Mayfield. What other quarterbacks were available?
So after Mayfield, the other quarterbacks I was considering were Derek Carr. He was the next one who went, and then the next one.
Go ahead.
You would have taken Carr?
Yeah, I would have taken Carr.
Carr just scares me with the line this year, and also with as you talked about tonight, your love affair with Nelson Aguilar, who's also gone. So that was what kind of scared me off him, and then you had Ben Roethlisberger was the next one.
Yeah, I'd stay away from Ben. I'm worried about him.
And then it was Ryan Fitzpatrick and Trey Lance were the only other two that have gone since then. So it was getting pretty slim, and I felt like Baker was kind of the last option. He looked like maybe he figured it out a little bit at the end of last year. Completion percentage is important in this league, and I think that that'll hopefully pan out a little better for him this year. I think that offense is going to be a little better. So we'll see. I didn't love that one either, but I felt out of those options like that was probably the best one left.
I do love Amari Cooper and T. Higgins. I like those two picks. What were you saying, Trevin?
What was that completion percentage thing again?
You get
1 point per completion or something?
You get a half a point per completion and lose a point for an incompletion. So if your completion percentage is less than 66.67, you're losing points.
I think that would sway me to Carr's favor. He's completion percentage god.
He was good last year, but like I said, I just think I'm nervous.
You want to hear his last 3 years of completion percentages?
They're good. I know they are.
68.9, 74, 63, 67.3.
And to go back from with him losing Aguilar, do you think John Brown is better than Aguilar?
I think they're comparable.
Yeah.
And hope everything that Ruggs takes a step forward and can be better too. But he still has Waller to dump everything off to like he has been the last 2 years.
And you're hoping for the wrong receiver, Trevin. Ryan Edwards, baby.
Yeah. And he'll improve.
I need Ruggs.
Hunter
Renfrow. We'll get to the line too when we get to the AFC West to talk about it more. But they lost guys, but it's the same line they had last year. All the guys that lost were mostly hurt most of the year. I think they had one game where all the guys were healthy.
Is Incognito back?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like 38 years old.
He's still pretty good. At least run blocking.
Yeah, we'll see. It was just enough to make me nervous.
Yeah, I just would have taken Carr there, but that's not a big deal. I don't like the Swift one. I think Duchesne's has got into my brain too much on Swift, and I'm kind of out on him overall.
I don't know. It just gets so thin at running back so fast.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get a lot of volume, and the pass catching is nice in this half PPR. So, and first downs, obviously.
How much better would we look at Swift if he would have caught that touchdown pass week 1 last year?
I know that's when I think of Swift. That's one of the first things I remember.
Yeah, it probably would have changed his whole season. Probably he'd be like the lead guy this year.
I mean, if you think about it, that simply lost the game for him.
Yeah, it took a while to get back into the.
Who do you think's the lead guy if it's not him?
No, I mean overall in the NFL. I think he'd be like a top 5 guy just based on if he would have had more volume last year after that.
I think that vividness bias is working against fantasy players when they think about that because it's that one play in one game, and I think there's also a positive kernel in there that he was getting an end zone target. He dropped it, but it bodes well for you when you're running back getting targeted in the end zone.
But if he fails at that, it's more likely that he won't get that again.
Just cost you the game like that. So much of a one play just lost you the game. He had 3 carries first week, then 5, then 0, then 4. They really weren't giving him work at the beginning of the year.
He also has a new coaching staff and a new quarterback, so I don't think that
I know. I'm just
play
saying.
from last year is going to matter too much this year.
I just think he would have had more volume last year and had more stats last year and been even higher on rankings this year if it wasn't for that one play.
So you're saying he's a value because of that play?
No,
That's what I'm hearing.
because I think they're going to be very bad this year.
Yeah, I think they'll be pretty bad.
I'd be fading him even worse if he would have been going into this year as like ADP 6.
I wouldn't be surprised if they got the first pick in next year's draft.
But you can be a good fantasy running back on a bad team if you get the volume, and I'm hopeful that he will. The running backs that went right after him were Dobbins, Montgomery, Miles Sanders, and Chris Carson. So,
I would definitely take Carson. I mean, what is Carson? I know it's not Dynasty. Why didn't you take Carson instead of Swift? I mean, with Carson's history, tell me why you wouldn't take him.
last year in this format, Chris Carson had 197.8 points and DeAndre Swift had 193. So they were 4 points different last year. And I think that was probably
God damn it.
I think there's quite a bit more upside for Swift there than there is for Carson.
How many games did Carson miss, though?
I'd have to look. I don't know off the top of my head.
Because I feel like he only played like 10 games.
He played more than that, didn't he?
Carson missed 4 games. I don't know. He might have been injured for other ones, but he was a complete scratch for 4 of them.
So, yeah, I don't know, Brent.
Yeah, I don't know. That's tough. I mean, the ceiling's high for Swift.
That's what you're going for in a tournament like this.
Yeah. I think Carr.
Hey, Brent.
What?
Swift played 13 games last year, so
Really?
he only played one more than Carson.
But was he healthy scratches for those games that he missed, though?
I have no idea. I don't think so. But I don't think he's healthy scratch for any, was he?
I don't know. I have no idea.
So
I'm
yeah,
not sure on here if it's a healthy scratch. Nice. Well, it's for a good cause, so you don't have to worry about trying to win it, I guess. It's in your favor.
We just like to give you crap. I honestly think you have a really good team, though, so far.
Travis Kelce outscored Tom Brady in this format last year. He had 393 points. Kyler Murray had 416, so he was almost as good as Kyler Murray in this format.
That's crazy. Kyler Murray had such a good year in fantasy last year, but I don't feel like he played that good as an NFL quarterback.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers had 490 points in this format last year.
So, back to the tattoo thing. Where would you give yourself a tattoo, and what would it be?
I think the easiest place would be your leg, like you did.
Yeah, it has to be somewhere that's only visible when you want it to be.
Yeah. I'd do probably on top of my thigh and have it facing towards me, I think. He tried to do it sideways.
I do the Fantasy Players Club logo.
Company man.
I like it. I'd do a picture of Brent going through a table in his Devin Singletary jersey.
Oh, jeez.
No, I think I'd have to do something very simple because I'm not artistic at all, and I've never obviously given a tattoo, so I would have very, very crude skills. So it would have to be something real basic.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, what would you get a tattoo of?
Maybe just a cross, so I wouldn't be totally embarrassed to get naked in front of my wife or whoever would actually see it.
Yeah, I'm already embarrassed to do that.
Oh man, what'd you get?
As I've heard people say, your kid's name is about the only real safe thing you can do for a tattoo, so it's probably about it.
Yeah.
Anything else, you run quite a risk of having a really bad tattoo.
So you're getting Mark tattooed on your leg?
Mark. Who's Mark?
Your kid.
Isn't his or her name's not going to be Mark?
Oh, Al. I forgot. Al.
Oh, yeah. Might be Al. Al'd be a good one.
If those weren't your cousins and your brother's names, that would be pretty
That
good.
doesn't work so good. It is hard to pick names. Do you realize you know a lot of people?
Yeah. And when those people start having kids, it gets even harder because you don't want the same name as one of the kids that you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of names in the world, but when you start trying to pick out your own kid's name, it limits it to about 3 each.
Mhm.
Have you identified any finalists? You don't have to share them. Just have you?
Yeah, Liz pretty much had a girl's name picked out, which I was fine with. It's not like I had a strong feeling on a girl's name. We've got a couple finalists for boys' name we still have to decide on.
Brent and Levi.
Yeah, that's 2 of the finalists. It's really just those 2 that we're trying to pick between.
I'm okay. I'm okay with it. You feel free.
Duchesne's.
Yeah, Duchesne's, of course. Yeah, first name Duchesne's. First name Fade, middle name Duchesne's.
There you go.
It feels like it's way too big of a choice to be making. What if the kid hates it? I feel like there should be like a committee of some sort that you could talk to.
They can always change it.
Yeah, it's true.
Or go by initials, or just a made-up name, like we've gone over with all these players.
Yeah, that's true.
McCorkle, Michael.
Lava.
Brent, did you know did you have to debate a lot to figure out your kids' names?
Kind of with Devea, because that's a pretty different name. But as she's grown, we've called her D.
So how'd you land on Devea?
Because we thought of a boy name as Devin, and then we thought of a girl name as Devin, but my wife didn't like it that much. So we saw the name Devea. We're just going in a baby book, and we just added a at the end, Devea. So, and my other daughter is Madison, so probably one of the most popular names 18 years ago. So that one was.
How'd you guys decide, Levi?
For Owen, we knew for a long time if we were having a boy. I think it was when Shelly's sister was pregnant when we were dating. We were just talking about different names, trying to guess what that baby might be. And one of the names I threw out there was Owen, and we both liked it a lot. So before we were even married, we both kind of, I guess, knew if we ever had a boy that would probably be the name. And then for Carson, we took a long time and debated a lot and tried to pick one that sounds good with Owen because you're probably saying their names together a fair amount, so that gets kind of tricky.
Yeah.
So eventually we just kind of settled on that one, but it took a while. Girls' names were always a lot harder to guess, and for Carson, we didn't know until he was born. We waited to find out, so that he had to kind of have both rage roll. So I don't know. We always had a lot harder time with girls trying to there were a lot of boys' names we liked and would have been okay with, but the girls, I guess, was just harder.
Nice.
So did Liz, I know she could find out and she hasn't, but is she just at this point planning to just wait until it's born? Or I guess no, she didn't want to wait, right? She wants to find out at some point.
Yeah, we're just trying to decide how we're going to reveal it. We've already got the card that has the revealed inside the card that we haven't opened yet.
So you're gonna
give it to us.
You're gonna have like a little deal where it's
some type of party. I don't know.
Hey, I got an idea.
Revealed on the show. Hey, you want me to go grab it right now and open it up?
No. You can, when we do Brent's thing, you just have a bottle of ketchup that's all wrapped up so you can't see what color the ketchup is. And then when you squirt it on Brent, it's either blue or pink, and that's how you find out.
Shit.
Yeah. I'm in.
You in for that, Brent?
Sure.
Gender reveal.
I don't think my wife's going to agree to that being the
Of
gender
course.
And then we all do a shot out of the bowling ball to celebrate.
Yeah. So, Liz, you know my podcast co-host, Brent. We've got a great idea for revealing the gender.
She'd be
This
so
is
in.
now. This is Pinto Ron.
We get a few more. We get a few more viewers that week, wouldn't we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
my whole family would tell them that's the only way they can find out. Yeah.
Oh man. We have to figure out a weekend for it. Get it on the books. All
Yep.
right, should we end this stream? Have a good week, everybody.
I guess so.
So yeah.
See ya.